I believe there are 5 powers that allow you to make great changes in the world: money, beauty, athleticism, talent, and knowledge. Now, while the other ones give you fame and fortune, knowledge, the ability to understand and explain concepts that may shape the world, that gives you credibility. Now, each one of those powers come with fear. And for knowledge, beside the obvious fear of exam and fear of teachers and fear of school, you have the fear of failure. That's the major fear for knowledge. But I know a little bit about fear. I'm from Haiti. And usually when I say I'm from Haiti, people ask me, how was it under Papa Doc and Baby Doc, the dictators of Haiti? Well, I had no problem under the dictatorship. I had no problem under Papa Doc and Baby Doc. Because you see, I grew up with my mother. My mother was that no-nonsense Caribbean woman who would tell you exactly what you have to do and will put some fear into you while you're doing it also. I mean, anything. You could tell my mom, Mom, I'm going around the corner to buy some candy. And she would look at you and say, Pavlov, 2 years ago, some boy went around the corner to buy candy and he never came back. This is the kind of mom I had. But I guess when you have 6 kids and a father and a husband like my father, I think dictatorship is probably the only style of leadership that you can use. So she sat me down, I think I was in kindergarten, she sat me down and said, Pavlov, there is no inheritance for you. Okay? Your dad and I, we don't have money to leave you. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to go to school and go as far as you can. I don't know how far you can go, but you're going to go as far as you can and make an honest living. So I took that literally. I taught myself to read. And my mom would tell you that one time she comes to home and she sees me reading. And she's like, oh, Pablo, what you doing? And I'm reading. I'm like 3 years old. She's like, really? Read that newspaper. And I read the newspaper for her. So the next day she goes to the kindergarten and say, Sister Yolande Contois, I had 4 kids in this school. And none of them read in kindergarten. So are you changing the curriculum? What's going on? And Sister Contois says, Mrs. Rameau, you had 4 kids here and we were about to go to you because Pavlov knows how to read and we don't know how he knows how to read. So apparently I took the advice very seriously and nobody had to tell me when to study, what to study. I just took it upon myself to do it. So school was a place for me to have happiness because when things were not going right at home, that was my place. So after a while, my mom decided that, one summer, my mom said, we're going to move to Port-au-Prince because Les Cayes is a little bit small. There are not enough opportunities. The money is running out. Let's just go to Port-au-Prince. And of course, my dad was like, no, we don't have enough money to make a move. Let's wait a little while. And every day my mom would just say, we're going. And she, helped us apply to school in Port-au-Prince. And because of a good friend of hers, Miss Françoise Rigaud, I was accepted to the best school in Port-au-Prince. But I didn't know if I was going. So the first day of class, we were all sitting at home in Les Cayes and we didn't go to school because we thought we were going to Port-au-Prince. So we're looking at my mom is looking at us. And my dad comes from work and my mom is like, and he's like, no, there is no money to move. And she's like, well, we're moving tonight. I sold all my jewelries and I bought the bus ticket, and we're going to Port-au-Prince tonight. And I remember that like it was yesterday, because we left around like 1 o'clock in the morning to walk to that bus stop. It was like a 30, 45 minutes walk. And as we start walking, I remember my mom taking a rosary and start praying. And we all were praying with her. And we're walking to that bus station. And my dad will tell later that he realized that that's when he lost his family. Because he saw my mom, he saw the look, he saw the walk. There is no way we were going back to Les Cayes, Haiti. So we moved to Port-au-Prince, and I get there the next day. And of course, the priest asked my mom, why didn't Pavlov come to class on the first day? And my mom is like, well, he was sick. Well, I don't think you should lie, because the next day I was really sick and I couldn't go to school. But again, school was the place for me to perform, to be myself, because the situation at home was not always the best. And I'm thinking like, my mom was thinking like, no, this is not going well, because my dad stayed behind. So at some point, my mom realized that there is not enough money, so she's going to the States. So she moved to the States and left us with one of my sisters. So we stayed with my sister. So that year, my mom being in Chicago and my dad being in Les Cayes, so I had really no supervision. So I failed 9th grade, which is not part of the plan. I was not supposed to fail. And in Haiti, when you fail, you don't fail one class, you fail the whole year. So you're sitting next year with a bunch of kids that you didn't like in the first place, that you were making fun of, but you're sitting with them, and I'm sitting in the back in my hands, my head in my hands, and I remember Mr. Napoleon. He said, Pavlov, it's okay, it's not the end of the world, okay? If you want to be good at something, just do it every day, at least 15 minutes. Just do it every day, Saturday, Sunday. And since he was a math teacher, so I started doing math. And I was doing math, and I got so good at it, by the time I finished high school, I had students in my class that I was tutoring. I mean, their parents were paying me to tutor them. That's how good I got at it. But the situation was not going well in Haiti. I mean, at home, one of my brothers had a mental breakdown, and he was in a mental institution, and still is. Very funny guy, but still in a mental institution. And the political situation in Haiti was even getting worse. I mean, they got rid of Baby Doc, and there was riot, and we didn't even know if we were going to have the final exam. Actually, I had to have police escort, thanks to our neighbor, Colonel Fritz Romulus, who took us, some kids, to take the final exam, because there was fear that they would shoot at us or something. So my plan was always to leave Haiti, because that wasn't part of my plan. I wanted to go as far as I could with my school, so Haiti wasn't offering that. And I remember I'm sitting in class, and one of our teachers, we had great teachers at St. Louis Gonzague, Brother Serge came to class one day and say, guys, if I give you a scholarship right now, a full scholarship, how long will it take you to be ready? And then he pointed at Reginald. He's like, Reginald, how long will it take you to be ready if I give you a scholarship? And Reginald is like, well, Brother Serge, I just bought a stereo system. I have a car. I would have to sell that. I would say 2-3 weeks, a month. I need a month. And we all laugh at that. And he turns to Ralph and it's like, Ralph, how long, if I give you a scholarship, how long will it take you to be ready? And Ralph is like, I don't think I can go. My family, my church, Brother Serge, I'm sorry. And we laugh at that. And then he pointed at me. He's like, what about you, Pavlov? How long it will take you to be ready? I'm like, Brother Serge, meet me at the airport. Call my mother. Tell her that I will explain later. True story, true story. And that was my attitude. And I applied to every single scholarship there was in Haiti. I went to every single embassy except Cuba. Wasn't emotionally ready to go to Cuba yet. But I went everywhere. And I didn't hear anything except probably Germany. I was in the top 10, but that didn't work out. So I applied. I went to the University of Haiti School of Engineering. And the first year I'm there, kind of like, sorry, because the school the students that were not going good in my school, they were the one rioting, closing the school every now and then, So I really wanted to get out. So while I'm sitting in a bus one day, some guy told me, are you Pavlov Rameau? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I heard your name on the radio. You won a scholarship. You should go tomorrow. Tomorrow is the deadline. And I wish I took his name, because I would love to thank that guy, because he changed my life forever. And I don't know his name. So the next day I went to that interview, and I'm sitting there, and there's a panel interviewing me, and they ask me all kind of questions. And they say, Pavlov, you've lived half of your life in Les Cayes and half of your life in Port-au-Prince. Do you feel more from Les Cayes or more from Port-au-Prince? Ooh. And without hesitation, I say, well, I feel more Haitians because I have 2 experiences of Haiti now. And he was like, yeah, that's the answer I was looking for. When I wrote that grant, this is the spirit I was looking for. So he took me to the radio, took me on TV, and said, this is a list. Just pick whatever you want, wherever you want. You can just pick it. You got it. And then I look at the list. I didn't have time. I saw computer. I saw Washington. I picked computer in Washington. I didn't know there was a state called Washington. I thought I was going to Washington, D.C. I told all my friends, I'm going to Washington, D.C. And then the day before, they show me where I'm going. I'm like, no, I'm going there. They say, no, you're going there. I'm like, okay, fine. I would have gone to Cuba by that time, So I'm like, okay. So here I am at the airport, and they give me $25, and they make sure they give it to me at the airport, because if they give it to you before, your family might take it. So they gave it to me at the airport, $25, and they say, you're going to Seattle. Some guy named Jim is going to come for you. So you're going to stay with him. I'm like, that's look like a good deal to me. So I took the $25 and got into the airplane. And while I'm sitting in the airplane, I'm reminded of that walk that I did with my family. And to me, I felt okay because the goal was bigger than the fear. And whenever the goal is bigger than the fear, then it's okay to leave the comfort zone. So I left Haiti without knowing any English. Imagine in Seattle without knowing any English. So I got there, and some people were nice, some people were not nice. Jim's family wasn't that nice. And sometimes they were not that nice. They would turn off the heater while I'm asleep. I'm from Haiti. You don't do that to me, So, not good people. But it's because of what they've heard of Haiti. They heard of Haiti. There was, there was no education. Everything was bad. And I spent the first part there trying to explain to people, no, it's a real place with real people. But eventually, I kind of gave up. So when they asked me, is there any TV in Haiti? I said, no, there's one TV in downtown Port-au-Prince. And at 5 o'clock, we all go and watch the TV. And at 9 o'clock, we all go home. So I had to play along. I had to play along. But I was lucky that there was a lady called Ann Pearlman Morton in Seattle. I mean, she took it upon herself. Sometimes you find strangers that are like so helpful. And she would take whatever problem I had, I would go to Ann Pearlman Morton. And she was like our mom. And she would just solve it. She would go to the congressman for us. So I wish I could thank Ann today. But last time I asked, Ann had an accident and she lost her memory. So she doesn't remember me. So you have to thank the people while they're doing things for you. Don't wait for too long. So I went from that. I got my certificate because it was supposed to be a certificate scholarship. But they made a mistake of telling me that anything after 12 credits is free. Me, you don't say that to me. So I got 2 associates after the certificate for free. Who does 2 associates? You don't need 2 associates, you just need 1. Okay, people? Just 1. But I got 2. It was free. I had nothing else to do. Everybody was going to Canada. I didn't go to Canada. I stayed and study. I moved to Miami after that and went to Florida International University, where I had some great professors. One of them, Dr. Kafkoulis, Dr. Josh Kafkoulis, some Greek guy, very intense guy. And he told me, Pavlov, you have to continue. You have to continue. I think you have a talent here. You have to continue. So that's what I did. I applied to the top universities. And when I graduated, I didn't even invite my dad to my graduation because the goal was the PhD by now, the big degree. And my dad was very upset. I didn't know he cared like that much about that bachelor. I'm like, Dad, it's just a bachelor. I will invite you to the big one. And he said, okay. But he never lived to see the big one. So that was a mistake. You have to live in the present. Sometimes you're so focused on the future, you forgot to live in the present. So as I'm sitting there, again, I got a call from the chair of the Department of Mathematics at the University of Florida. I never got an acceptance letter. And he said, Pavlov, we're waiting for you. Where are you? I'm like, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. First day of class. So I'm driving, and while I'm driving from Miami to Gainesville, I am reminded of that walk that I took with my family. And I'm thinking, it's okay. The goal is bigger than the fear, and it's okay to go. So I go to University of Florida, and I got my master's out of the way real quick, and I'm working on my PhD, and I have a committee. When you're doing a PhD, you have to have a committee of people that tells you what you're doing and if you're doing right. And then I realized these people are not reading my stuff. I am giving them chapter 1, 2, 3, and they're still asking me questions on chapter 1. I'm like, that doesn't work out. So I go and talk to the president about it. And he's like, Pavlov, this is very political. You don't want to upset these people. They have the key to their life. I'm like, these people are upsetting me. It's about time I upset them. So I fired the whole committee. Including the chair of the department. I fired him. And I had a whole new committee with Dr. Linda Biar. And she took me, and she's like, helped me all the way to the last weekend. And I remember the last weekend of when I'm about to defend my dissertation, and I turn off my phone. I turn off my phone. This is the last defense. I turn off my phone. Because, there is always that uncle that really didn't do good to you and is going to die that weekend just to mess things up with you. I didn't want that to happen to me. I'm like, if you're going to die on my dissertation defense, I don't want to hear about you. So I turn it off. So imagine leaving your hometown at the age of 10. Imagine leaving your country for some place that you don't even speak the language. Imagine presenting the solution to a problem that no one else thought of before. Imagine 7 nationally recognized professors sitting there, including the president of your university, Dr. John Lombardi, and the legend who created the community college system, Dr. James Wattenberger, sitting there and judging you and asking you questions for hours. Imagine them asking you to leave so they can deliberate. Imagine you standing outside of that room for what seems to be an eternity, because everything that you've worked for and sacrificed for is not in your hands anymore and in theirs. Imagine them calling you back to the room. And as you enter the room, they all stand up at the same time and say, congratulations, doctor. Imagine getting a PhD, Doctor of Philosophy degree, the highest degree given on earth. I wish I could explain that feeling to you. It's like flying like an eagle and everything is slow motion around you. But I have to tell you that studying is the easy part. The challenge is to keep studying, even what you really want to do is to punch that professor in the face, because a couple of them has no business teaching anyway. Keep studying even when you doubt yourself, because there are a couple of people who would love to switch place with you. Keep studying even when you're broke, you're sick, and financial aid lost your application. The good news is, in the academic game, it's not the smartest one who will succeed, but those with the greatest determination, those with the strongest commitment to achieving something non-trivial, those whose goals are bigger than their fears, those with no plan B. We don't all have to get a PhD, but whatever your goal is, you will know when you get there that only you can conquer your fears. Thank you.